And Nick, you go there or something like that?
Yes, I am involved in student government here. I am the president of Christians United for Israel. I am involved with the College Republicans on one campus. I'm very heavily involved in this campus's politics. Yeah.
I was apparently there was supposed to be this rally for Palestinian students. That was supposed to happen, but the campus shut them down like a couple
The
of weeks
campus,
before. Hold on,
the,
hold
the
on, hold on, hold
campus
on, brother. Hold
shut,
on, brother.
sorry,
Hold on, brother.
sorry.
Yeah, you can correct. You're gonna correct me. I'm probably wrong, but give me later. So they canceled it, and then the students they went to court about it, and they won. But what happened after? And I want to talk about campus protest when it comes to this issue, the election. What's up?
Okay, so to clarify, Students for Justice in Palestine, which is the main advocate for, or at least they claim to be the main advocate for enlightenment on the Palestinian cause on campus, announced on October 7th that they would be renting out McKeldin for a vigil that they marketed as interfaith for the 30,000 or so odd Palestinians that have died in the war. The university, when this was announced, the university got inundated with death threats from both Zionists and people that were sympathetic to the Palestinians, threatening the safety of our campus community. So the university basically canceled all events for October 7th. It didn't matter if they were pro-Israel, anti-Israel, a vigil or not. The Council on American Islamic Relations, which funnels a lot of money into the national SJP chapters, took the university to court. The court failed to prove narrow interest in the case. The judge issued an injunction that allowed SJP to have their event on McKeldin Mall. The University of Maryland Hillel, which is the Center for Jewish Life on campus, had a separate vigil for the 103 remaining hostages still in Gaza at Hornbeck Plaza across the road. There was a picture of me in the New York Times at the vigil that Hillel had. I also went to the SJP one out of curiosity. Um, this raised a lot of questions about free speech on our campus, particularly around contentious topics, about the true motivations of Students for Justice in Palestine, about what attitudes about what SJP stands for, to the point that now student government in 2 weeks is about to hear another divestment bill asking the university to divest from companies and countries that engage in human rights violations, but it's mainly about the Israeli topic. I'm an Israel studies minor. I've been to Israel 3 times. This is an issue that is near and dear to my heart. Um, my stepsister is at Columbia. She's a Jew. This war, I don't want to get too philosophical about it, but what I saw at the vigil, the Jews did not want to have one. They felt like they had to have one in response to SJP having a vigil. It was marketed as an interfaith vigil for people of all backgrounds, and you can find pictures of this. At the vigil, they had massive pylons that said "Glory to our martyrs," and inscribed on that pylon were the names of terrorists who, during the first and second intifadas, murdered Israeli children. Uh, one of them was involved in a famous pizzeria bombing that killed over 20 people, bombings of buses that Yasser Arafat inspired. They also subsequently put out a statement saying that Israel has no right to exist, that the country is a
Who put
settler
this out?
colony. This was the University of Maryland Students for Justice in Palestine. The
They put up those
organization
signs. The students.
they put up the right to exist is the right to resist signs like this in the middle of the mall that students had to walk past going to class. Meanwhile, the Jewish vigil, which was not featuring shouting like they had, um, people had to go through security to get into, which raised Title VI concerns from the side of the Jewish community, saying that, hey, if I'm walking to class, I have to walk by and see SJP's massive vigil, but I don't necessarily have to walk through Hornbeck to see the Jewish vigil. Now, my perspective on this is that the court made the right decision. I do not think the university had a right to cancel the SJP event, as
Right.
despicable as I think the content might be. I think it was a huge win for the First Amendment. I agree with Henry, right? The way to win these battles is through more speech, to convince
Yo,
people.
Nick, you haven't heard me yet.
Oh, well, okay. Well, at least when you said earlier, the way to counter speech is
Leading.
with more speech, that's how I viewed this. Um, the things on campus have only deteriorated since then. Student government is about to go through another massive divestment fight. And I can say in the minds of most students that I talked to, they didn't really understand why SGP was having the event on the 7th. It could have easily been on the 8th or the 6th. And there was certainly nothing interfaith about the vigil. They had people with signs there basically condemning all of Israel and saying that Israelis are illegitimate people and should all be killed. So it was an emotional day. And the day culminated with Hillel throwing an event, a day of remembrance where Steny Hoyer came and spoke about the need for Hamas to return the hostages and for a long-standing peace to be brought between both Israelis and Palestinians. And so that's kind of what happened near the end. Again, I don't want to go on too much about this, but it's basically been the center of campus discussion for the past month.
Right.
So
Henry, you want to jump in or?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm an exec board here at St. Mary's. I was the president of Jewish Student Union. I have seen, heard everything. And, at the end of the day, there is a very clear line, and I think most students know where it is. You are welcome to voice your opinion, no matter how much I disagree with it, no matter how much the state disagrees with it, no matter how much administration disagrees with it. The second you cross into overt threats or physical destruction of property, you have crossed a line. Most, and the problem at the end of the day is that for however reasonable 95% of students are, there's always two or three or four that go too far. And, I think universities have done a good job of properly addressing those students. But what UMD did, canceling that rally was objectively, an overreach. And I too am glad that the court said that it didn't pass strict scrutiny. Are those different? Anyways, but frankly, everyone talks to me, my family, my friends. Oh, what are you seeing down here? Do you feel unsafe? Because I'm in one of the only swing districts in Maryland. I'm one of the very few Jewish students on campus. I have friends with vastly different opinions than I do. Not that I'm particularly pro-Israel, or but at the end of the day, I have always felt safe and respected on campus. And, I'm sure the vast majority of students feel the same way.
So is there like well, at University of Maryland, do Jewish students feel unsafe?
I mean, it depends who you're asking. We have had a wave of anti-Semitic incidents that have gone unanswered and unresponded to. I can't speak for every Jewish student. I have heard personally that some do and some don't. I'm not a Jew, so I can't speak for their community. SJP has targeted me personally, but I don't personally feel unsafe. I'm loud and I make my opinions on this known, so
Okay, well
it's
let
a
me ask you.
consequence of me
So
speaking.
were you ever at a pro-Palestine rally with a shirt, I don't know, saying I'm an ally, I'm an ally or something like that?
No, I just go to their rallies and listen.
So you're there to scope it out, scope things out.
Yeah, more or less. But I think
But
it's important to engage in the other side, especially on issues like
right,
this.
but when you go to your when you go to the Israel, the Zionist side, you were what are you doing there?
I was just there helping the volunteer, pretty much.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So the election and I'm thinking most of the students there, they are against genocide. So um when it comes to Henry, like I always curious about this. Like, how can most of these young Arab voters, they're very smart, they're in college, how could they still be voting for Kamala? Or are they that uncommitted? Or
So let's be clear about something. Being in college doesn't mean you're any smarter than someone who ain't there.
you're more in
Um,
tune to social stuff?
you'd think so. Uh, look, I can tell you that even my most sort of ardently pro-Palestine friends, at the end of the day, see the writing on the wall and aren't willing to throw their vote away to genocide Jill. They see, everything are trade-offs. Although I don't think this is, they recognize that Trump will be far more supportive of Israel than Harris is, and just make the simple call. Those of them that aren't willing to make that simple call see the danger Trump poses to their friends who are immigrants or trans or gay or female, and recognize that that threat is far bigger than any difference in Palestine policy.
Divesting, so you don't support the university divesting from working with Israel. You don't support that,
No,
huh?
not at all.
Okay. Why is that?
It's the hypocrisy of the movement. The same people that push it are unafraid. They do not mention Turkey, which is shelling the Kurds right now and occupying North Cyprus. It does not mention the 1 million Uyghur Muslims that China currently has in concentration camps. It does not mention these seven. They won't even condemn Hamas. They won't even go as far as
I
saying
think
that.
the students, they're worried about the university sending their
The university, let me give you some stats. The university has 10 times more investment in Tehran, 200 times more investment in Moscow, close to 30 times the investment in Beijing.
So you're saying
And also,
how come they're not saying
under state
divest from
law,
Putin? Yeah.
when Ukraine got invaded, I was on the Student Government Association legislature, and I wrote a bill that worked with ISSS to get Ukrainian families home. I did not ask this university to divest from Moscow. And also, if you look at the actors,
and why not?
When you look at the actors, well, first of all, the response with BDS is a bit different because BDS is illegal in the state of Maryland. But if you want to talk about, yes,
which
it
is a blatant First Amendment violation.
You can tell Westmore to rescind it then because he hasn't. Hogan signed the executive order, and West continued it. If you want to talk about what should have happened vis-a-vis Russia and Ukraine, there would have been a valid argument to push for it. But the BDS movement is very clear about what its goals are: to delegitimize Israel at any goal, at any stake. And SJP, which pushes it, says that. There are steps that they could take, right? If they wrote a resolution to Wes's office asking him to rescind the executive order, that's something that you could have an actual conversation about.
But why not divest from Russia?
You could have said it could have happened then, but they're not pushing for it. That's my point. They don't. So
the bill is why didn't you push to divest from Russia?
Well, first of all, the Russian Student Association didn't want it, and Pine said that it would have been too divisive. To be honest with you, it was pushed from the university administration. If you want an honest answer, that's why it didn't happen.
Okay, no, yeah, no, I know where you're coming from. I appreciate your answer there.
Like I'm just gonna be honest. I hate Vladimir Putin. I think he's an evil person, but that's why I didn't go forward with that step. There were a lot of Russian students on campus who, when these conversations were happening, that's the response that was given. And it's a valid argument. It's a valid argument that I should have pushed for it. But at the same time, Pines was very clear about what that would do, as well. So.
Well, just let you guys know that I'm not voting for Kamala. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm voting for Jill Stein. Am I wasting my vote, or am I a Putin apologist? Or I'm one of the reasons why I'm voting for Jill is she wants to stop put an embargo for Russia. Stop the weapons. It's a genocide, man. But let's talk about third parties. The rise of third parties. Are you guys fucking with them or what? Are they legitimate or what's up?
The rise in third parties is the red wave of 2022.
Yeah.
It's not that third parties are getting bigger, right? Remember, Ross Perot won 18% of the vote in 1996. It's just that each individual vote matters more today. That 0.1%, those 7,000 votes matter way, 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 way more.
Hey, if you like this video, leave a like and a comment. And if you really want to mess with the show, if if you want more DMV news, make sure you subscribe. Weekly shows and clips. Follow us on Instagram, you dig? Trust we. Smoke something.